The Summer I Ruined a Family, featuring the infamous incestuous love triangle, has scandalized the nation and plagued our screens for a few years now. Since we get a break this summer before the movie finale, I'm here to rip these characters a new one. No one is safe. Not Jer, definitely not Conrad, and sure as hell not Belly. And together we will determine who is the better boyfriend, brother, and ship. What are my qualifications? I read these books back when To All the Boys came out, and I have been a hater since then. Belly and Conrad are awful in the original, so imagine my surprise when the first season premiered and I found myself Team Conrad? This was blasphemy to my 11-year-old self. But fortunately, the show mogs the book in every way possible. There's more drama, the characters are more fleshed out, and Belly is actually bearable. So keep in mind, I'm a lot nicer to this show because the books were so bad. Also, disclaimer, before we get into the analysis, I would not marry either of these boys. I would never marry Conrad because I don't do sad boy shit, and I would maybe date but never marry Jer because I don't do bums. But Belly clearly lives in a dystopian world where these two brothers are the only options for her, so within those parameters, I'm gonna do my best to make a case for everyone. Please don't slime me out too badly. This summer is dubbed the Summer I Turn Pretty, indicating the theme of change. This is the summer Belly breaks out of her shell, Conrad faces a alleged personality shift, fresh divorces. This is an overall loss of status quo. This is punctuated in the pilot when Taylor encourages Belly to not
happens you're alone crying in your room in your big t-shirt waiting for the boys to come home.
So she finally takes agency, and instead of letting stuff happen around her, she breaks the tradition of movie night with the moms and goes to the bonfire. This summer will be different. Belly has grown up ignored by the boys, overshadowed by Taylor, and in general keeps to herself. Sure, she romanticizes summer and says things like,
"For me, it was almost like winter didn't count. Summer was what mattered. My whole life was measured in summers. Like, I don't really begin living until June."
Yet, you hear about her previous summers and she honestly sounds like a loser. Her world is confined to these 5 people, and 3 of them spent their summers going out, having fun, living life. If Belly is not with them, she is with the moms. She doesn't know anyone in Cousins despite practically growing up there, and it was one thing if she was content with this lifestyle, but she clearly envies the boys. She says she loves her birthday because the boys are forced to include her. She so desperately wants to be one of them, but to them, she's just a little girl, their baby sister. So, this summer, she ditches the glasses, grows the boobs, and is viewed as a real girl by the Fishers. In a sick way, maybe the only path towards being in their group is by dating one of them. The show already demonstrates much more intentionality than the books because they give Belly volleyball and the Deb ball, both key elements of her character arc. Volleyball is a year-round passion, not a summer hobby, not a romantic interest, a thing that is all her own. The group dynamics tend to belittle Belly and Jer's intellect and ages, but with volleyball she feels that was something she was truly exceptional at. This shows the person she already is, fierce, competitive, compassionate. Meanwhile, the Deb ball shows how Belly can grow, forces her to step outside her comfort zone and start a real social life in Cousins. She gets out of the house, makes new friends, and finds a life outside these boys. Her brother, mom, even Conrad all discourage her from debbing, confining her to a box. Laurel describes Belly as a feral little alley cat who is unconfident and unsure of herself. Connie said all Debs are sheep and that she shouldn't do this just because Susanna asked. But that's the thing. In the final episode, Belly explains that maybe she said yes at first for Susanna, but now she's doing it for herself. Belly's attempts at agency, control, and living a full life come into full swing when examining her relationship with the boys.
Look who came back all grown up.
Jer hugs her, compliments her, overall sweet and affectionate. Meanwhile, Conrad's first words are,
"I liked you better with glasses."
He infantilizes her and doesn't appreciate her change, but it doesn't matter because Lover by Taylor Swift is playing, so they're endgame. Roll credits. Belly has had an embarrassing crush on Conrad her entire life, but so has everyone else. Steven, Adam, Laurel all practically worship him. There's never a shortage of Conrad glaze, because he's the dutiful, mature older brother. He's guarded and makes you work for his attention as if it's some commodity. Athletics, academics, it all comes naturally to him. Conrad is the prize, always, and Belly feeds into this most of all. She savors any crumb of attention from him, hangs on to his every word like it was gospel, and falls into the trap of the mysterious, unattainable older guy. But this summer, she's taking control. This godforsaken pool scene illustrates the dynamic perfectly. Conrad has to be the cool older kid, the guy who's above it all. She warns him about the dangers of pot and he says,
"Do you memorize every single thing that I've ever said?"
And though she scoffs and says get over yourself, she knows deep down it's true. She idolizes him, but his superiority complex highlights the power imbalance she always feels with the boys, and this summer she's done with that. Except she's not, though. Sure, Conrad hurts her ego like no other, yet at the end of the day, her heart always defaults to him. She has a moment with Cam but gets distracted by Conrad. She flirts with Jer but leaves him for his brother. Laurel puts it best.
Billy, Conrad is the sun, and when the sun comes out, the stars disappear.
At the end of the pilot, the two share a cute moment on the beach, and Conrad actually initiates plans with her, but she shoots him down because he called her the same old Belly, and she desperately wants to prove that she's grown, that she doesn't worship Conrad anymore, that they're equals. Conrad crashes Belly's date with Cam, and she rightfully chews him out for it. She accurately clocks his need to remind her he exists, to assert the pull he has on her, but he pretends to not understand, and the interaction ends with him telling her to grow up and look in the mirror some more. Because he can't be vulnerable and lay his heart on the line. He's above that. Instead, he becomes callous and cruel. And look, I get the bad boy appeal, but is Conrad even a bad boy? He's kind of boring and emo. Like, at least Damon Salvatore made jokes. Conrad just sucks the life out of every room he's in. When Connie's in a bad mood, it's everyone's problem. He doesn't give her a birthday present because he's too embarrassed of the big gesture, which I get, but the way he went about it was so cold.
Conrad, do you want to give Belly your present?
Sorry, I forgot.
Like, no wonder Belly feels belittled and insecure about her standing with him. But it's okay because it's the 4th of July. These two sort of confess, False God is playing, and they're about to kiss, which is low-key cheating on Nicole and Cam, but who cares. Then Jer shoots the firework, and that's enough for them to part ways. Conrad is over the moon, Belly's dreams finally come true, the stars align, and they're about to make things official. Everything is sunshine and rainbows. But then, Conrad remembers his mom has cancer and flips the switch in typical bipolar Conrad fashion. Belly tells him she broke up with Cam and is thrown off when he's being cold. She can tell he's pulling away.
What do you want me to say? I'm sorry?
Are you sorry?
I don't know.
And then Belly tells him she won't wait around for him anymore and dips instead of, like, having a deeper, longer convo. Right. And then Jer confesses, and despite never once thinking about him romantically, Belly goes for it because she's given up on Connie. I get that Belly's pride is hurt, but this is the closest she's ever been to actually being with Conrad. If she cared enough, wouldn't she fight for him? At least Conrad has a reason for being an ass. Which, yeah, let's get into his big secret of the summer. He knows his mom has cancer. That's obviously a heavy burden that no one deserves to carry, but that's not an excuse for him to be a dick. He doesn't tell Jer, and don't get it twisted, it's not because he wants to protect his little brother. He explains to Cleveland that if he admits he knows, then it'll make everything real, and he doesn't want to crush his mom's dreams of having one last normal summer. But then he goes out of his way to make it a not normal summer. Everyone praises Connie for bearing the weight by himself and managing this enormous burden when he didn't manage shit. He lashed out every chance he got. He was drunk and emo all summer, he was antisocial, he bitched about having to hang out with his dying mom.
But can we not make this like a bonding experience, please?
Well, excuse me for trying to connect with my son before he leaves for a year.
Like, he doesn't deserve flowers for carrying the secret when he bitched to everyone about it. I feel bad for him, but not that bad. It does make sense why he's afraid of being with Belly, though. He explains to Cleveland that he's scared of starting something with her because he might screw it up if he's busy dealing with all the emotions with his mom. But he doesn't bother explaining any of this to Belly, which makes her jump to, in Taylor's words, the hotter, emotionally available Jeremiah. Halfway through the season, Jeremiah confesses to Belly,
Why didn't you say anything?
There was always Conrad. And this summer it was Cam. I guess I was just waiting.
and then Are We Still Friends is playing and they kiss out of nowhere. She never expressed interest in him, but hey, good ego boost. Ugh, Jeremiah, it's too easy.
Pretty please. Pretty please. How come nobody ever wants to play with me?
But when all is said and done, I think he's extremely overhated. Look, you're allowed to like Conrad, just don't have a moral superiority complex over the Team Jer people. The fandom treats the situation as black and white, creates double standards, and fails to account for any iota of nuance. Jer is characterized as the lighthearted playboy partier. He always tries to lift the mood and make everyone feel comfortable. The thing that always trips me up is how people define Jer as irresponsible. They double down on this in season 3 with the frat and extra semester to graduate and his unemployed Nepo era, but he was the most responsible in the first 2 seasons. He was DD for the bonfire, apologizes on Conrad's behalf with the cops, he made his brother the hangover smoothie, he initiated a mature convo with Belly about the kiss, which is more than Conrad can say, he managed the medical bills, he didn't shut down emotionally, like it's hard to buy the villain role so many paint him out to be. And as sweet as he is, it was never gonna be him. They're described as best friends. He doesn't patronize Belly the way the other boys do and makes more of an effort to include her. He doesn't give her a hard time at the bonfire, compliments Belly, he gets her a sweet birthday gift, he notices she was sad about Conrad's lack of gift and lets her drive his car, he reassures her about Taylor, defends Belly's dancing to the Deb girls, he's always sweet to Susanna, like he always treats everyone well. There's so many more positive interactions between these two than with these two at this point. He has so many pros, but unfortunately he has a huge gaping flaw. He's not Conrad. That's why every time Belly picked Jer, it felt almost sinister. After Conrad rejects her post-July 4th gate, she decides to go for Jer. Then Conrad asks her to the dead ball and she's all giddy again, but when Susanna for some reason doxes Connie in front of Belly and tells her she made Conrad ask, Belly's ego is hurt and she swings back to Jer. She even says,
I mean, how am I supposed to fully jump into something with Jeremiah if a piece of my heart still beats for his brother?
exactly, so don't go for Jeremiah? And this line extra pisses me off.
When Jeremiah and I kissed, it was real. And real is like scary.
If Conrad was completely ignoring you this summer like he has every summer and then you realize he would never have feelings for you, then fine, you can claim that with Jeremiah it's real. But this is genuinely the summer where Conrad is finally reciprocating. You just need to wait and your dreams will literally come true. Like, you almost have him, so don't go messing with his brother. It puts an extra bad taste in my mouth when Steven calls her out and says this affects way more than just her. They're like family. And she says she knows, but she picks Jeremiah, and then the scene ends with her driving herself to the ball, symbolizing agency and standing up to Conrad. This is reiterated when she tells Nicole she was in love with Conrad her whole life and thought this summer he could like her back, but he just likes that she likes him and she's over it. Again, she's protecting her ego at the price of a family. And to Conrad's credit, by the end of the season, he's coming to terms with his mom's cancer and apologizes to Belly for being distant and even initiates a fishing trip with the boys. Fortunately for Jer, he's growing more and more worried for his mom, and with Conrad brushing off all his concerns, he takes matters into his own hands. He's busy finding out his mom had cancer, so Conrad steps in to dance with Belly, and That's the Way I Love You plays, and the way she melts, like Jer never stood a chance. The second Jer comes back, his first instinct is to tell Conrad, which shows how much more significant Conrad is to Jeremiah than Jeremiah is to Conrad, but then he punches Connie for knowing and not telling him, and can I just say, for all the messy shit that happens in this show, Conrad does not catch enough flack for hiding this from Jer. The rest of the episode is written really well and everyone gives stellar performances. This scene really got me. And then, the ending. Belly goes to comfort Connie on the beach for holding everything in by himself, and he says he needs her.
I don't want you to need me. I want you to want me.
I do want you.
And then, this love plays and they finally kiss. I give Connie a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, I understand where he's coming from, and he's also just significantly better than his book counterpart. In the book, both Jer and Connie know Susanna's secret, and Conrad is the only one that acts like a dick. He's also way meaner to Belly and even physically grabs her at one point. There's no dead ball, Steven leaves a few weeks into the summer, Belly is truly insufferable, Taylor is toxic, and Belly never flip-flops between Jeremiah and Conrad. That's right, there's no pool kiss, there's no romantic tension, here eyes were only on Cam and Con. And even in the final pages of the book, the Bonrad confession is so bad because Connie is still mean. The show, Conrad is a lot more sympathetic and soft-hearted. He's a little emotionally immature, but he isn't outright cruel. TLDW state of affairs. Belly gets a life this summer, and even though Conrad, her dream guy, finally reciprocates feelings, he doesn't want to hurt her and she doesn't want to get hurt, and instead of healthy communication, she kisses his brother before choosing Conrad anyway. Good riddance. It's Not Summer Without You is the summer of loss. R.I.P. Susanna and R.I.P. Bonrad. Let's travel back to last summer. Right after their kiss on the beach, they're all giddy. Belly tells Conrad about Jeremiah and he's pretty chill and says he gets it since he shut down anytime something happened between her and Connie.
You want to be with him?
Being with you is all I've ever wanted.
Bruh, so don't ever go for Jer. Then Connie says Jer probably won't even care because he never takes anything too seriously. This is like very indicative of Conrad's selfishness in terms of his brother. Everyone tends to overlook Jeremiah's feelings because he hides them behind smiles and charm, prioritizing uplifting the room rather than showing his true emotions, which I respect a hell of a lot more than Conrad, who hides his emotions yet is still emo and annoying awe. Even Susanna says,
You never let anyone see you hurting.
I'm fine. Mom, seriously.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think you're a little too good at being fine.
Isn't that what everyone wants me to be?
I genuinely don't even think Conrad is malicious towards Jeremiah, he simply overlooks his emotions and capabilities because Conrad is sort of self-absorbed, rushing to solve problems himself and take himself out of the equation instead of thinking as a team. Jeremiah does not take the Bonrad ship well, even saying,
It's cool, I get it. You know, I was just the distraction to keep you busy while you waited for Conrad. I'm glad it finally happened for you, Belly.
which is valid, and Belly feels bad enough to hit the brakes between her and Connie so they can support each other. But these brothers aren't that close anyway, and you already fuck shit up, so low-key stand on business, which Conrad does a few weeks later. Their phone calls are really endearing, and Conrad wants Belly so much that he asks Jer for his blessing, which he tells Belly he did, so keep this in mind. Having Jer's approval, the two are finally together and they are so cute. I was extra impressed because in the books they don't even define themselves as official girlfriend-boyfriend, they don't hang out that much during their situationship, Conrad's roommate has never even heard of Belly, and Conrad is an asshole during prom gate. In the books, he bitches and moans about being a super senior at prom and makes Belly feel bad about the entire thing and only agrees to go when she brings up going with another guy. Then at said prom, he talks to the boys more than her and Belly points out the other guy she could have gone with and he doesn't even remember him. In the show though, I am completely on Conrad's side during their relationship. Conrad was a good boyfriend, and God forbid he's sad during his girlfriend's high school prom because of his cancerous mother. He can't hide his emotions like Jer can, and you know what? His mom is dying, so that's okay. Like, as the year went on, his mom has been doing worse, so obviously he was happier in the beginning of the relationship than he is now. He is extremely gentle with Belly the entire time, but he can tell he's a buzzkill and he doesn't want to ruin the rest of the night. So he tries communicating that in his Conrad way, and Belly vaguely understands, yet still jumps to conclusions. She knows he's sad about Susanna and says, please don't shut me out, but he doesn't know how to do that. Like, we know he's not the most emotionally mature guy, yet Belly says,
And if you won't say it, I will.
Say what?
That we're over?
and you can tell Conrad is shocked. Like, I don't necessarily think the show Conrad was trying to break up right then. But whatever, despite Belly loving Conrad more than anything else, she does not fight for him whilst his mom is actively dying. She runs inside crying, and Steven is hugging her, and they're giving Conrad dirty looks as if he's done anything wrong, and then Conrad leaves because he believes ending things is for the best. The conflict doesn't translate as well in the show, and I understand why they changed the source material, because it's harder to defend a straight asshole, but it also just makes the breakup more nonsensical. That's the thing, the show does a lot of favors towards Conrad, but they still make the same huge emotional scenes without the proper context to back it up. Then, the funeral. Belly vows to be there for Conrad even if things are awkward, but when she sees him seeking comfort from another girl, she flips out. He pulls his signature,
Grow up.
she embarrasses herself, it's just a mess. And I'm still siding with Conrad here. He's been shown to struggle with panic attacks, and he later explains to Belly that he was having a panic attack when Aubrey found him. In the books, there's no such thing. Now we're in the present day. It's the start of a new summer, a month after Susanna has passed and Bonrad broke up. Belly's grief caused her to fail her classes and volleyball. She is barely okay compared to Steven, who is mourning but still functioning. This leads to a blow-up fight where Steven blames Belly for Jeremiah and Conrad not talking to him anymore.
You had Jeremiah and it just wasn't enough. You had to have Conrad too.
I was in love, Steven, like out of my mind in love. What was I supposed to do?
If you were so in love, you never should have been with Jer or broken up with Conrad, but also, you're young and in love and grieving, so I can't be too harsh. After all, Belly hates herself the most.
And I'm so tired of feeling sad all the time, and I don't think I get to feel better. Yes, I know you hate me for it, okay? But you will never hate me as much as I hate myself.
She leaves the party and deals with her annoying mom too, and she's so sad and overwhelmed and just misses her best friend, Jeremiah. So she calls him and he alerts her that Conrad is missing. Jeremiah is locked in on finding Connie and he stands on business and doesn't entertain Belly too much, but tensions come to a boiling point when the car breaks down and it's hot as balls outside and they finally air out their shit. He doesn't blame her for the funeral, but the flip-flopping between brothers was fucked and everyone expected him to act fine when he wasn't. Worst of all, she wasn't there for him at all while his mom was dying, which she apologizes for. To be fair, she did try texting him in the beginning and he never responded, and maybe she thought he wanted space, but as the wrongdoer, it's your responsibility to make amends, especially near the end when Susanna was getting worse. But all is forgiven, kumbaya, the besties are back, ESB connection and all. And then Conrad's secret is revealed. The beach house is being sold and Conrad needed to save the day. Except he kept it to himself, didn't bother asking for help or letting Jeremiah, who has just as much a right to the house, know anything. He was gonna tell Jer after he solved things, but Belly says if Jer wants to help, that's his decision and he can't make it for him. The concept of Conrad not being the dutiful, controlling older brother must be hard for him to grasp. But the brothers have a heart-to-heart and Conrad reveals he does things alone because he's scared of people seeing him fuck up. But he resolves that he won't do things alone anymore. They both call Adam, and this is when Jer is finally disillusioned with his father. People often misconstrue these two as being pitted against each other their whole childhood, but Jer wasn't really a thought in Conrad's head, and Jer never really competed with Conrad. It was just an accepted truth that he was better at everything. Jer was used to Conrad being smarter, faster, better, but he didn't mind because he needed someone to look up to. But the past year disillusioned him of that, and he has a more nuanced view on Adam too. He agrees with Connie that their dad wasn't amazing, but Conrad was too blind to see that at the end he was there when it counted. Yet when his father doesn't budge on selling the house, it unites the brothers. During the Jeremiah episode, we see what asking for Jeremiah's blessing actually looked like. Conrad comes home for a weekend while Jeremiah is in the midst of organizing medical bills. He asks for Jer's blessing, and Jeremiah is pissed, but he's not going to get in the way. Conrad hears what he needs to hear and dips. It's clear both brothers love Belly dearly. Whether as a best friend or someone to protect, then they saw her differently during the summer she turned pretty. I only bring this up because some people think that one brother got feelings first, which I don't think is true.
From the first moment I saw her last summer, I was done for.
We grew up together, so I've always thought of her as this little kid. But now, she's not.
But even if it was true, that doesn't give someone more of a right to Belly, because at the end of the day, it's her choice, which Jeremiah understands.
I wanted to tell Conrad that he had no right, that he'd ignored Belly for all these years. But it wasn't just up to Conrad. It was Belly's choice too.
He also says that he has tried to keep Belly at an arm's distance because it's too messy and because she's always going to choose Conrad, but this summer she's been all over him. Can you blame Jer for thinking he might have a chance? I mean, he definitely doesn't though, because Belly literally tells Taylor,
And truer than anyone in my whole life. And I'll probably never love anyone like that again.
anyway, I low-key have a crush on Jer again. Like, bitch, don't piss me off. And then she starts tweaking to Jer.
Why don't you want to kiss me?
Bro, maybe because you played in his face and you're clearly still hung up on Conrad? At the party, Belly is genuinely still flirting with both brothers, but she insists she's over Conrad. The crew finds out about a compromise that will get them the beach house part-time, and Conrad immediately sours the vibe and decides for everyone that they're not doing it. This starts a fight between the trio.
No, this is the shit he does. When things aren't perfect, instead of trying to fix it, he just decides to throw it away. And it's not just the house. You did it to Belly, too.
To be fair, he doesn't know why they broke up, but bringing her up in a fight in front of her is insane. Conrad gives his classic,
Grow up, Jer.
and Jer gets mad all over again.
I did grow up. I watched Mom slip away a little bit every single day. While you were at college, or with Belly, or moping around after you screwed that up.
Jerry, you know for a fact that I came home every second I could.
But it wasn't every day.
Okay. What do you want, a medal?
You know I looked up to you every day of my life. And when people said that you were better than me, I wouldn't mind because I believed them too. But you're not. Now I finally see you for who you really are. What's that? A coward.
Jer isn't blaming him for not being there, he's saying Conrad doesn't understand what Jeremiah went through. But Connie brushes it off as usual because who cares about Jeremiah's feelings. Then the famous beach scene kills me because what are they talking about?
Why didn't you tell me you went to Jeremiah about us? If I had known that you'd done that you cared that much about me and about us, if I'd known that, I would have fought for you.
You knew his mom was dying, you know he bottles things up, that wasn't enough for you to fight for him? Then Belly comes back to the house, dejected and torn up. She looks at Jer, who looks back at her, representing how he's always there. Then she looks at Conrad, who looks away, showing how he's more avoidant. Jer sees her care more about Conrad's lack of eye contact than his contact, and he turns away, symbolizing how he is the second choice. Meanwhile, Belly is distraught because she ruined a family. The next morning, Jer comforts Belly on the beach, and she starts demeaning Conrad for asking for Jer's blessing when she was just praising him for it last night. Conrad officially apologizes for ending things with Belly the way he did, explaining that even though he thought he was doing the right thing, it wasn't an excuse. Belly forgives him and says they can go back to being friends, which he's clearly not satisfied with. They both still have feelings, but neither are willing to be vulnerable about it. Conrad and Jer also have another heart-to-heart on the beach, and Connie says he assumed that everything came easy to Jer because everything just rolls off his back, again showing how little Conrad understands Jeremiah. Meanwhile, Jeremiah can read Conrad perfectly, which is proven in the next episode. But in this moment, Jer says he's not going to be that guy anymore, the one that smiles when he doesn't feel like it, and the brothers agree to communicate better with each other. Then these car scenes that fueled Team Bonrad for weeks. Belly is cold, which Jeremiah notices, and asks if she wants a sweater. And then she says no, yet she accepts Conrad's brown hoodie, which somehow is a point to Conrad. And then the Swedish Fish Sour Patch debate.
I think, though, because Conrad knew that she preferred the Sour Patch Kids, do you think he knows Belly better?
Well, I think you can know someone better on a surface level. I think, like, the best relationships are a little deeper than just food preferences.
I do agree with that. I must say.
Also, in the books, Jeremiah hears Belly's growling stomach and immediately gets her food. Conrad just sits in the car and mopes. All this is to say, the show does Conrad a lot of favors. Also, isn't there something to be said about the nature of Sour Patch? Sour, sweet, then gone?
Are you ever gonna give me a second chance?
Belly, if I fall for you again, I don't think I can take it if you change your mind like last time.
We're not the same people we were. We grew up. I spent so much of my life dreaming about what it would be like to be with Conrad. Dreams aren't real, and now I want something real.
Which pisses me off. You spent your whole life only thinking of Conrad, so you still have feelings for him. Why are you convinced that what you had isn't real? But she doesn't want to risk it with Conrad, and what better ego boost than his readily available brother? He's tried to resist all season, but then...
Houston.
Yes. Yes, I still.
He gives in. Conrad's finished his finals, he's about to confess to Belly, but walks in on them making out. On his car, at his college, in his goddamn hoodie. He has a valid crash out equivalent to Jer's at the end of the last summer because Belly stays playing in their faces. As far as he knows, this came out of nowhere. Chris said Conrad hasn't picked up on the vibes between Belly and Jer, which once again shows how negligent Jer is in his mind.
Then go. Go. Stop chasing after me and go be with Jared. He's the one that wants you.
Jeremiah is determined to stay until Conrad comes back because he was never one to do the avoidance shit like these two. Then we get sassy Conrad, which is kind of funny, kind of an ick depending on the day I watch it, but the main thing is he's really immature. The thing that grosses me out the most was his superiority complex over Finch. He belittles both their intellect, which is an underlying theme throughout the show. Steven thinks he's better than everyone because of Princeton, and it even affects the dynamic between Taylor and Steven because she feels insecure and inferior about it too. After all, Steven is so heavily Team Conrad even though he's closer with Jeremiah because he looks down on Jer and up to Con. In fact, Steven and Taylor are like mouthpieces for Team Conrad and Team Jeremiah.
Look, what Conrad pulled up on was low, all right? I agree. But his mom was dying. Taylor, come on, he was going through it.
So was Jeremiah. Isn't he supposed to be your best friend?
And sure, Jer's easier. Yeah, but that's the whole thing. You know, he doesn't challenge Belly. Not the same way Conrad does. She's deeper than a lot of people give her credit for, and she deserves someone who sees all the amazing, complex things that she has to offer.
You think that's Conrad?
I know it's not Jeremiah.
In a way, everyone does that to Jer. Steven, Conrad, Laurel, no one sees the depth to him since he just brushes everything off. Conrad gets points for bottling everything up even though Jer does the same thing, but everyone can just read Conrad better because he makes his emotions everyone's problem.
You know how he is. He just bottles up all that shit until at some point it explodes. I don't think he has anyone. He definitely hasn't been talking to me.
Conrad doesn't think of Jer too deeply, yet Jeremiah is extremely perceptive of Conrad's emotions. He's the one that encourages these two to have a real conversation because he knows Conrad is hiding his feelings and he knows that Belly needs to know her options before she makes any decision.
I know what you're doing. You're acting like a dick so that no one can see how badly you're hurting. You still love her, Con. And you need to tell her. Why? She chose you. Not when she doesn't know she still has a chance with you. She deserves to know how you feel.
Belly is tossing and turning past an overwhelming light from Conrad's side, Jer overshadowed on the right. Conrad, in the dark of night, finally confesses. The next morning, he takes it away again. And then Exile is playing, but I don't feel bad one bit. Belly tells Jer, hey, I picked Clark, and he's like, yo, like, trust, we'll still be gang after this, like, I'm okay if you choose him for real, but she reassures him. She brings back ESP, and we end with them making out to EXO by Beyonce. TLDW, as Gavin puts it,
With Jeremiah, you know what you're getting. I think there's a transparency, there's an honesty, and a vulnerability to him.
Belly is too scared to risk it all with Conrad, so she pretends she doesn't still love him and goes to Jeremiah. He's easy. While Conrad was nice to Belly when they were together, Jeremiah is kind of nice all the time. She always knows where she stands with him. She never feels unwanted. She picks Jeremiah because he is the safer choice. Enter a 4-year time jump. Conrad hasn't talked to the crew in years, Jeremiah is facing the man-child allegations, and Belly isn't really her own person. In the beginning scene of the season, she said she likes Finch mainly because Jeremiah is there. She doesn't play volleyball anymore, which to me signified a loss of self. Instead of finding her own people and interests, she spends her college years attached to Jer. Jer has to take an extra semester, which is the start of the man-childness. Taking 5 years to graduate isn't the worst thing in the world, but the extra $20,000 tuition is definitely rough, especially because it was very avoidable. Because of this, Belly doesn't tell Jeremiah about her semester abroad, which Steven scolds her for.
If you don't tell Jer about Paris, you're not giving him the opportunity to step up, and show you what he's capable of handling. Kind of makes you just as bad as Adam.
And guess what? When she eventually does tell him and says she won't go so she can spend the next semester with Jeremiah, he encourages her to go anyway. And she admits she doesn't just want to stay back for Jer, she also is really scared of being by herself, because she isn't her own person. But he reassures her anyway. The two of them are honestly pretty cute together, but unfortunately, Cabo. Okay, let's get this out of the way. I don't think it was cheating. They've never seriously fought before this, which is a good track record for a long-term relationship. Belly finds out Jeremiah is going to Cabo for spring break, and he didn't tell her because he's self-conscious about frat stuff since she looks down on it. She doesn't even respond before he says, "Fuck it, if you think everything I do is ridiculous, then let's end it," and she accepts. They said they were broken up. Just because Belly thought it wasn't real doesn't mean Jeremiah knew that. And some people cope through rebounds. He was still depressed during the entire breakup, and everyone in the show has cheated on some level, but people only rag on this instance. He shouldn't have lied about it though. And also, like, even if he didn't lie, you're still allowed to feel disgusted that he slept with someone else. Like, he doesn't need to be labeled a cheater for this to be fucked up. Belly says she's only slept with one other person, which kills me because why would you say that? In the books, she's a virgin, so this is a much bigger betrayal, but here, like, it's not like sex is some sacred thing for her. She's only been with 3 guys and had sex with 2 of them. That's just circumstance. And Belly is an emotional cheater. Yeah, let's talk Christmas. This is the first time they've been alone in 3 years, so it's really telling that the second they're together, Belly still catches feelings. She dubs him the ghost of Christmas past, the guy who slips away without warning, but he's always present in her heart. It was this weekend when she realized, fuck, a part of her would always love him, and she never told Jeremiah that she was with Conrad, which is what sets the gears for the Cabo fight. Jer owns up immediately and continuously apologizes. She's walking through campus and he's so intertwined with her life, every place is filled with memories of them. You can't deny they were happy together.
You were supposed to be the one person who would never hurt me.
Remember, she expects a level of pain with Conrad, but Jer was the safe option, the sweet guy that wouldn't hurt her. Steven's near-death encounter and the way Jer supported her through that makes her Belly forgive Jeremiah, and then Jeremiah proposes. At least it's better than the books because Jeremiah proposes before she forgives him, which is plain manipulative, but here there's definitely better intention. And listen, some people marry young and it's fine. I think you could get over the Cabo situation. What you can't get over is still being in love with Conrad. That's why their marriage is doomed. Speaking of Conrad, he's been MIA these past few years. He goes to therapy but can't even talk about Belly, hasn't even looked at another girl in the past few years, genuinely hasn't moved on at all. He's nicer and, you know, med school's a bonus, but he still has some of the same core flaws. Namazi and Agnes both call him out on this.
Dr. Namazi, please, You may see this as one mistake, but this is about you not knowing your limits.
As long as you're afraid to face them, they'll run you, not the other way around.
Even after getting fired, Conrad refuses to go to his mom's memorial garden because he can't face Belly, so Agnes clocks him again. So he bites the bullet and goes to the memorial, and when Belly sees him, those two are in their own world. There was never any competition. Another change from the books is that Belly gets all embarrassed at the family lunch and doesn't want to tell everyone about the engagement. But in the show, Belly is so mad at Adam's comments toward Jeremiah that she proudly announces the engagement. Everyone is in an uproar because obviously your fuck-ass daughter is marrying this fuck-ass guy, and Conrad is genuinely shell-shocked, but Belly stands on this because she really does love Jeremiah. But is that enough to get them through this new adult stage of their lives? Belly is taking the emotional burden of the wedding because she's doing all the planning and has no support from her mom. Because, as Laurel puts it,
being someone's wife, someone's mother, before I even knew who I was, and I do not want that for her.
Which is so real. Belly has not grown up. She isn't her own person because she's always leeching off Susanna, Conrad, Jeremiah. She hasn't figured out who she wants to be. But Belly is pretty short-sighted, viewing everything in love-tinted glasses, even though the wedding is straining their relationship. Jer has his nepo baby big boy job at his father's company, and he's learning to take more and more responsibility there and coming into his own person.
You know, you're really impressing me these days. Here at work and at home. You cook, you keep your part of the loft clean. Belly's a lucky girl.
You know, I pretty much gave up weed. Billy hates it, and you gotta stay sharp for work.
The wedding is hindering that. They look for apartments together and she argues that they shouldn't rush through this process, symbolizing like, hey, maybe don't rush the wedding. She brings up wanting more time from him, he's explaining the pressures at work, but eventually concedes to Belly. Like, they're both valid and they talk through their issues. The triple tiered chocolate glaze cocoa is the bean shit is so funny. Like, obviously Jer is a menace for this, and it was so funny seeing everyone on my timeline clown him for being a wannabe chef. So imagine our shock when he genuinely became a chef in the finale. Anyway, Jer takes a job with his dad without telling Belly, which is like, bro, then baby Belly should go go to Paris, but he says he'll drop the job for her and they agree to deal with it together. Like, it's definitely unhealthy the way they prioritize their relationship over personal aspirations. But finding that balance is something they could theoretically grow into. They're capable of communication. This relationship would be just fine if Conrad wasn't in the picture. Conrad is falling hard and he knows it's wrong, but he can't control it. He convinces Laurel to come to the wedding because she's a Conrad dick rider, so she'll do whatever he says. He goes wedding shopping with her, the peaches, the cut, they almost kiss, False God is playing. Like, it's fucked. At the bachelor party, Conrad hears about Cabo Gate and he's thinking, jackpot, I can finally stop this wedding. But when he tells Belly, she's like, bro, that was 7 episodes ago, we've moved on. Since Cabo wasn't the gotcha he thought it would be, he starts getting desperate.
He will always be there, here.
You're only saying this because I'm marrying Jeremiah, that's why.
I fucked up 4 years ago. Remember that night in the motel? When I told you that I still wanted you? But I knew that if I kept you with me, I would hurt you. But then this summer, being around you again, I love Jeremiah. And I hate myself for doing this, but when I see the two guys together, I fucking hate him. Don't marry him. Be with me.
And don't get it twisted, he does not gaff about Jeremiah, and more importantly, if you let her be with Jeremiah because he wouldn't hurt her, what changed now? How have you proven that you've changed, that you won't hurt her?
You will never be what Jer is to me. He's my best friend, and he loves me no matter what, and he doesn't take it away when things get hard.
Like, yes, she clocked it. Because guess what? The very next morning, Conrad takes it back. She crashes out because obviously...
What do you want from me? I laid myself fucking bare last night. I put it all out there, and you shut me down. And now here I am, trying to let you off the hook, trying to come out of this with a little piece of pride, and you won't let me have that.
Like, I'm sorry, this is disgusting. Love should never be about pride, but these two are in a constant power struggle and can never be vulnerable.
Suddenly I have this feeling, this absolute certainty, that I will never be able to completely let him go.
That doesn't mean fuck his fucking brother, oh my god. Again, reiterating that she chose Jer because he was safe. Then we get a series of everyone clocking Conrad, and it's honestly really funny.
She's just like gonna blow up her whole life just because you suddenly remember she exists?
Yes.
If you keep this shit up, you might get what you want, you know? Maybe she gives up everything for you. It's possible. But just, I don't think that you're capable of being the person that she needs.
Yes, because Belly is not her own person. She blindly follows her heart to the detriment of everyone else.
What do you say? That he wants to, like, run off into the sunset with you?
What?
Yeah.
Is he going around telling people that?
What is wrong with you? Really, what is wrong with you? We can all clearly see that you're still hung up on Belly, okay? With all your brooding and your sad boy, whatever the fuck. But did you really have to go and confess your undying love the weekend of her wedding to your little brother? And Jer's my best friend. I've barely seen you in years. All right, I see Jer every day. He has Thanksgiving with my family. He has the spare key to my apartment. He calls my grandmother Hamani, for fuck's sake. You were the one who disappeared.
Yeah, and now you know why.
Get over it! Like, Conrad doesn't solve shit. He still isolates himself after years of therapy, and he hasn't made any progress. I just can't respect a guy like that. And I can't respect a girl like Belly either.
I mean, I've stood by you and watched you choose Jer over Paris, over your mom, and now over me.
Yes, I choose him over everyone because that is what you do when you love someone and when you're really in it with them.
Is it? Really? I'm worried about you. I feel like you've completely lost yourself in Jer, and like, that's not love, that's codependency.
Like, yes, sort of. What they had is very much real. They had a supporting, secure relationship for the most part. They could have potentially grown together like Jer with his job. But what is Belly? Outside of relationships, we've seen her passion, her confidence, her kindness. But when she's with the Fisher boys, she has no identity, doesn't know herself, and always chooses the boys over everything else. Like, she lost volleyball this season, a core externalization of her character because she loses herself in these relationships. Belly deadass says,
I can't walk away from Jeremiah. But I still can't seem to let go of Conrad.
like, brother, wrap it up. If Connie's always a thought in your head when you're with Jer, maybe don't. So Jer and Belly are about to get married when he loses it.
I can't even say his name without you getting this look on your face.
And whatever I have left in my heart for Conrad, it doesn't compare to me and you.
You can't marry me to erase him.
Like, it's so good. I honestly love the performances from the cast. Even when dumb shit is happening, they sell every line. Then Cardigan plays and Belly catches a flight to Paris. The rest of the show is uncharted waters, completely off script. Bonrad feels guilty and he's like, hey, red Gatorade will help with his hangovers, which is nice, you know, the least he can do, but goes back to Gavin's point about how knowing surface level things doesn't equate to real love. Then Conrad confides in his dad and showcases the parallels between these two.
I broke him, and the worst part is I wanted it. I don't think he'll ever forgive me, and he probably shouldn't.
You're my son, and I wanted to be there for you, but you wouldn't let me.
Because you made everything worse.
Exactly.
Insinuating that Conrad should just leave everyone alone. But that was his dad's problem. He left. As Jer said, he came around in the end when it mattered, so Conrad needs to do the hard thing and be there. But he doesn't know how to do that just yet, so he leaves. The next year, we see Belly finally grow into her own, make her own friends, find her own goals, live her own life. She has flings but can't commit because of Conrad's letters. Which, yeah, you already fucked up the wedding, might as well stand on business and pursue Belly because you need to prove that you will fight for her. And she stands on business too, not responding for a while to make sure it's real. Meanwhile, Jeremiah is dealing with the trauma from all this. He can't face Finch, couch hopping between Steven and Denise, overall feelings of inadequacy and failure, like, he's a mess. Going back to the beach house, interacting with Conrad, facing Adam just brings everything back. He says losing Belly hurts more than Susanna dying because the feelings are so much more complicated and Belly is still out there. Eventually, he finally reaches out because he doesn't want to be a pussy anymore. And he finally lets her go. Now, let's dissect the final Jeremiah-Conrad confrontation.
I loved her, and you ruined it. You don't know what it's like to be with someone that long, what you build. What you lose when it disappears. She was my fucking world.
If you loved her so much, how could you go and sleep with someone else?
We were broken up. You wanna know why? Because I know about the two of you on Christmas. You wanted Belly back, so you found a way to take her.
You can't take someone, Jer. She's not a fucking object. And the only reason that there was any wedding to break up was because you were afraid of losing her. As if a ring could make someone yours.
Yet you throw that damn infinity necklace around like a collar. There was a wedding to break because they were young and because she still loves Conrad. His fear of losing her was valid because guess what? At the end of the day, she picks Conrad.
Fuck you. Jer, I'm sorry that I couldn't stop loving her and that hurt you. I hate that. But you've been that person too. When you had the chance to be with her a month after she and I broke up, you took it. And I get it because you loved her so much that you forgot about everyone else. I did too.
But it's not the same thing. Kissing her without talking to Conrad is fucked, obviously. But guess what? Jer gave him the chance to take her back. He told Conrad to fess up to his feelings. If Conrad just owned up back then maybe we wouldn't be in this situation now. Jer promised no hard feelings back then, he just wanted everyone to be happy. But Conrad fucked up then and fucked up now. Whatever, they forgave each other. Jer admits he could never compete with what those two had. So, with that blessing, Conrad books it to Paris. They redo the pool conversation from the pilot, but switch the lines to show that Belly has the power now, that Conrad's the one pining. In fact, all their interactions are just them reminiscing on their high school selves. Like, it's very telling that they don't truly know who the other is now.
Because I had to move on. I had to let go of the past, and I couldn't do that if I was still holding on to you.
And have you moved on?
And then she kisses him, so no, she didn't fucking move on. And then Dressed by Taylor Swift is playing and they're having sex in Paris, but Belly starts tweaking out. Because she's scared of regressing into the person she was, scared to commit to Conrad.
All this time, I wanted to believe I changed. That I'm not the same girl I was. But I am still her. And was that girl so bad? She followed her heart no matter what. And despite all her mistakes, I have to believe she's still worthy of love. I still love her. And I still love him. I have brown hair and brown eyes, and I will always love Conrad Fisher.
Brother, please! Out of the Woods is playing, and they have their final declaration, and I'm just baffled. You can choose Conrad Fisher. None of us are surprised here, but her monologue indicates that she hasn't grown. She's still that same girl that will lose herself in love. She's lived an independent life in Paris and became her own person, but now the Conrad who used to put her in a box and reject her growth is back for real, and instead of saying you're ready now, you've grown but you still want him, you disregard your growth. It's also telling that the series ends with these two alone at the beach house, while Jer ends the show surrounded by his ambitions and his friends and family. He's better off without Belly. When Denise says,
No, honestly, I barely know the guy, but from what I've seen,
Your brother's pretty annoying. Dude, you are the one who is obsessed with him.
She's so right. He is trapped by the fated inevitability of Belly and Conrad. He feels defined by the past. No one has faith that he can grow into his own like his brother. But after Belly, he does just that. Jer was overly insecure, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes not, and finally, he's grown out of it. Good for him. As for the whole out-of-character debate, I think Jer from book 3 is completely different from books 1 and 2. Like, when he says he'll just wear shorts to the wedding, I'm like, really? The same Jer that would have done everything right for Belly's prom? Jenny Han needed to somehow justify the Bonrad endgame in the books because Conrad is so horrible to her and Jer is so nice, so I'm glad they changed the show so much. I don't think anyone was out of character in season 3. Frat boy man-child Jeremiah and desperate emotionally avoidant Conrad both make sense. And I buy that Belly truly loved both these brothers, but she loved Jer because he was safe and they were equals. Even though she always knew she would never get over Conrad, he was too risky and she was too afraid of being vulnerable because she never knew when he would take his love away. But that's another caveat I have. Like, he didn't treat her great outside of the relationship, but when Conrad and Belly were actually dating, Conrad was a good boyfriend. If this scene happened in March, prom was in April, and Susanna died in May, then he clearly wasn't mentally absent for that long. Belly is the only girl who could understand Conrad's grief, so why wasn't she understanding of this? Conrad didn't want to drag her down in his sorrow, but it's her job to fight for him, to be there for him. Show Belly is definitely more earnest and kind than book Belly. She's following her heart, even if it's stupid. In book 2, after she kisses Jer, she runs after Conrad and is like happy to make him jealous, to make him feel anything. In book 3, Conrad said, "I never looked at another girl when we were together," because he also barely looked at Belly when they were together. In this video, I did not want to use quotes from the book to support my arguments for the show because they're simply too different. I only emphasize the changes because while the show is messier, it's definitely more genuine. Which now brings me to my closing arguments. Who is the better brother? Jeremiah. Only because he thinks of Conrad more than Conrad thinks of him. Part of it is definitely resentment, but in general, he just reads Conrad better. He's more perceptive to his feelings and actually gives up Belly for him in season 2. Conrad would never do the same thing. He's not even mean towards Jeremiah, he just doesn't think deeply of Jeremiah, doesn't tell him about Susanna's cancer or the house. He's very single-minded and doesn't know how to be a team player, especially in their brotherhood. Who is the better boyfriend? That's a tie. They were both very sweet and gentle with Belly when they were in actual relationships. Because Jeremiah and Belly were together for way longer, they faced problems that Belly and Conrad never did, yet they still communicated and worked it out. Obviously, Cobblegate is cooked, but Belly was emotionally cheating, so it was never gonna be perfect. Conrad has his life together more and doesn't lose himself in love the way these two do. He's still a high-functioning med student with and without Belly, and that kind of structure is better for Belly in the long run. But yeah, both brothers loved Belly and treated her well. They were both good boyfriends. And finally, who was the better ship? Bonrad, obviously. There was never a question, no doubt in our minds, it was always gonna be them. I kind of hate when love triangles make it so clear who the winner's gonna be. Like, the only 2 times I felt equal love towards both interests was Jane the Virgin and Infernal Devices. And low-key Vampire Diaries. Elena switches once. Belly only gets a pass for 1 switch, which was way back in season 1. So I kind of hate how when she was with Jeremiah, the answer was still Conrad. But hey, she got what she wanted in the end. I can't believe there's a movie after this.